Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. Consciousness of success. Wanted to do a video that discusses the aspects of consciousness and how it plays an integral role in the creations that we experience in our lives. Consciousness is our experience, but the problem is, and a lot of us don't quite understand this, is there is the internal experience and the external experience. And many people look to the external experience for what's going on or what's possible when it comes down to what's going on in your internal experience that creates the outer world. Nothing happens outside of yourself until after it happens inside of yourself. Many of us have beliefs. This is part of what consciousness is. Consciousness is a lot of things in my mind, and I think it's good to kind of start and discuss a little bit about what is consciousness. What is this thing that we're trying to affect? So beliefs come into play. A lot of us have beliefs. Some things are possible. Maybe people with money are good or bad. Maybe people that we love are untrustworthy. Maybe all men are untrustworthy. All women are untrustworthy. We have beliefs in the world. Now, a lot of us also have beliefs that are positive. People are generally good. That traffic signal's always green every time I'm driving. And you'll notice that your beliefs are generally, almost always anyway, reinforced in the outer world. Your internal beliefs, the things that you hold as true, regardless if they are or are not, are going to be shown to you in your outer world, and you will experience things that constantly reaffirm what that belief is. Now, a lot of us look to things in the outer world and we say, well, look at this. This person, there's a third party. My specific person obviously can't be with me. There's a third party. That's a fact. And we look at facts and we use these facts to decide what is and is not possible. Problem is facts in the external world, once again, have followed the facts of the internal world. And a lot of the times the facts of the internal world kind of tie into beliefs. But one of the things that's really interesting about facts is you can create a fact inside of yourself just as easily as you can look outside of yourself and decide that's a fact. Example, it is a fact that I am a successful person. It is a fact that I will achieve whatever I set my mind to. It is a fact that if I keep going down this particular path, I will experience more of what I am out to get. How do I know that's a fact? Because I've seen it happen countless times in my life. I realize by believing something inside of myself, by deciding inside of myself what is or isn't possible, by deciding inside myself what is true or not true. I'm a talented person. I have the ability to talk on the fly. I like to read. I like to talk about crazy things. These are facts about myself. And outpouring of these facts into the real world becomes things like a YouTube channel, becomes things like my side gig that I do, IT, the business analyst stuff I do. These things go out into your real world. Your facts get pushed out into your real world along with your beliefs. We've also got many assumptions or understandings. Now we see things happen in the world, example, the third party again, and we see a third party and we assume that it's not possible. It's not possible for me to be with this individual that I want to be with. Or someone else is fulfilling the role that I currently want, and so there's no way I could possibly get that job. A lot of us make assumptions based off of what we see in the outer world. And the assumption needs to happen on the inner world. Same examples. The third party's obviously going to break up. May not be in the outer world yet, but I'm assuming it must be so on my inner world, else a lot of the things I'm creating aren't possible. The fact that I've got a position that's currently filled, well, I'm going to assume that person's going to be moving on. I'm going to assume there's a different position that's perfect for me. I'm going to assume that something's going to open up that's going to allow me to move in this direction that I desire. Do the assumptions come from inside myself or outside of myself? Many of us look outside of ourselves and then make assumptions. Many of us need to remember to look inside of ourselves and make assumptions. And when you do that, it changes your entire world. We also need to understand that everything is a circular flow. You're not just receiving love from people, money from people. You're not just receiving experiences, but you're sending out beliefs, understandings, who you are. You're sending out love. You're being the thing that you desire, or you're just being who you are. And in the process of being who you are, you're sending out energy to the world. Maybe you're being good to people, maybe you're being bad to people, but you're out there in the coffee shop, you're out going to work, you're out interacting, and your experience of the world, you're sharing it with others. It is a movement. And when we learn that what we send out, what we are internally, gets reflected on our screen, and then our beliefs and everything that comes with it gets reflected back, and that's what we experience. It's circular. What we are inside is pushed out. It's reflected on our screen. Actors and actresses walk into our worlds, our movie, play their parts, and walk out. And that is our experience. That is what we receive. And finally, the one thing that so many of us don't notice as much, for very obvious reasons, is our unconscious activities. Freud talks about pre-consciousness. So there's consciousness, pre-consciousness, and unconscious. I'm probably more speaking of the pre-conscious arena, but there is a lot of subconscious activity or unconscious activity that we do. We don't necessarily pay attention to some of the automatic behaviors that we do. Someone pops up and says something, we just automatically react. Someone cuts us off, we automatically flip them off, right? Or we automatically get angry and then cut them off. There's a lot of automatic behaviors that create a lot of the same in our lives. Why? Because we're unaware of the fact that our consciousness is what's creating. We're unaware of the fact that we keep doing these behaviors without thinking about it that are creating more of this thing that we're complaining about. Noticing how we're behaving, noticing the things we say, noticing the times that some of the strangest stuff pops out of our face. We're like, where did that come from? And also noticing the times where compassion kicks in, where you get a tear in your eye just because something wonderful just happened. You weren't trying to do that. You just connected with something. It was oddly almost unconscious. That is a part of our consciousness. And everything is created from our consciousness. Now, as a lot of us are experiencing life, living through life, going through our day-to-day, a lot of the times thoughts happen, right? I mean, it happens to all of us. Sometimes we're intentionally thinking something. We're trying to figure out where we want to go, trying to figure out something in work, trying to figure out a question I have, just thinking about something I want to manifest, so thoughts kind of tend to drift in a sort of given direction. Sometimes thoughts just happen. Sometimes we're just sitting there in a void, and almost a daydream or some sort of thing pops into your mind, and you enjoy the thought. Now, sometimes those thoughts are good. Sometimes those thoughts are bad. And I mean good and bad relative to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Maybe you're trying to accomplish a relationship with a specific person. And if something pops into your mind, you and them having dinner at a fancy restaurant and enjoying yourself, and that thought just randomly popped into your mind because you were just a moment ago making a sandwich, you can sit there and enjoy that thought and realize that this thought has got creative potential, that you're borderline picking up on something that is tied into your manifestation. You basically had a flash forward, if you will, not a flash back, but a flash forward of what you're going to experience because of the conscious work you've been doing. And conversely, sometimes we have thoughts and feelings that are of a contrast nature, and that's good, actually. A lot of people freak out when they have a contrast thought. They're, oh no, I'm not supposed to ever have contrast thoughts. Oh no, I'm going to manifest that. No, that's not true. If you have a moment of a contrast thought, go, ooh, they're like third party, for example. They're using the specific person example that pops into your head. Oh, they're probably dating so-and-so. Whoa, put on the brakes. Hang on a second. Take that thought that you're seeing and go, okay, well, that's obviously not the experience I want. That's the contrast. That's the opposite. What is it that I do want? Well, I want to be in a relationship with this individual. Obviously, they're going to be single when that's happening, and we're going to be monogamous together, and we're going to have a faithful, loving relationship with one another. Focus on what you would like to do. Use the contrast to get yourself back to the positive thought. Understand that the contrast serves as a wonderful purpose. Contrast, to show you what you don't want. It's not that it's showing you what you're going to have. No, you can keep thinking thoughts that you want to experience, and when you have thoughts that you don't want to experience, you think of something else. And they served their purpose. And every time that contrast thought pops up, make sure you shift it off to the thought you would like to experience. And you will notice that everything starts to change. The final part of this whole video, and I think this is key, either your consciousness is shaped by what you experience in the outer world, by what you see, by what you hear, by what others tell you, or you realize your outer world is created by your internal consciousness, by who you are inside, by the feelings that you possess, by the beliefs that you have, by the facts that you hold true, by assumptions and understandings that you hold near and dear. The outer world mimics what is going on inside of yourself. So if the outer world is not quite what you want, then work on the inner world and keep working on the inner world until the outer world matches what is going on in your inner world. And what does that mean? That means being the thing that you desire. If you desire more love in your life, you need to be more love in your life. If you're desiring to have more income in your life, you need to be more wealthy, more abundant, more within the flow. You need to understand and start to really wrap your head around what wealth means. If you desire to be with your specific person, understand that any problems that may exist are very easily overcome. Any problems that exist in your outer world can very easily be overcome by making shifts in your inner world. When you make the changes on your inner world, your outer world almost immediately begins to match. The longer you can hold that inner world consciousness of this higher level, the sooner your outer world gets to that higher level. Dan RadioStyle.